I'm Tim Wilkins with Cross Ministry, and a number of years ago I was having dinner with a pastor and one of his church members in California. During our conversation, I commented that most likely the pastor had someone or someones in his congregation who dealt with homosexuality. I myself have dealt with it in the past and left homosexuality 30-some years ago. But I mentioned to this pastor that, most likely you have someone in your church or someone's in your church dealing with same-sex attractions. The church member who was there with him looked across the table at me and said, "Tim, I doubt that. Our congregation is primarily senior adults." I scratched my head and I thought, what does that mean? Now, I knew what he meant, and in case you didn't know what he meant, here is what he meant. He meant, since our church is primarily made up of senior adults, then there's no one in our church dealing with homosexuality. He was making the assumption that only young persons deal with homosexuality. And I actually prevented myself from laughing there at the table. But you know what? Many people believe such things. I know men and women in their 40s, 50s, some married, some single, who deal with homosexuality. I've got friends who are in their 70s and 80s and almost 90 who have dealt with same-sex attractions and done so in a very biblical way. So the idea that older persons don't deal with issues such as this is unfounded, unbiblical, and unwarranted. The fact is that people deal with all kinds of issues. In our More Than Words conference, Cross Ministry More Than Words, our focus is walking versus talking friends out of homosexuality. And we provide that in several different venues. Let me encourage you to go to our website, crossministry.org, sign up for our newsletter, and you'll stay aware of when More Than Words will be available on demand, in a webinar format, and even an audio on demand. Appreciate your listening. We would appreciate hearing your questions.